Hi there, my name is Josh Foreman, and I've been spending the last 20 plus years working on AAA games in a lot of different genres. I wanted to make this video specifically to show how I approach level design for PvP first-person shooter, so I'm just going with a Counter-Strike bomb defusal style map. So let's just look at the overhead here. We've got a CT spawn over here, a terrorist spawn up there. We've got a bomb site A and a bomb site B that's kind of hidden under there. And so I'm just going to walk you through from a player's perspective how the sight lines work out and the different strategies that I think might be employed. But of course, as all level designers know, everything changes radically. This is a gray box first pass. Once teams get in there and actually start playing, everything changes. And to me, that's the delight of level design. I really enjoy that process. So anyway, this is from my first pass, like idea of how it would be played, and then we see where it goes from there. So let's jump in there. So as a terrorist, you're starting in this little courtyard. Presumably you've blown through the wall of this warehouse, and we're going to go talk about the A side of the map first. So once you exit your spawn location, the first thing you're presented with is these two landmarks. You've got this big radar dish over here and a communication antenna over there. The antenna is going to be spot A. So I'm going to go, let's start with long A. Shows off most of the area. So here you've got an approach that presents you with, to start out with, this corridor of area, and there are several places you could potentially be getting camped from. So there's plenty of corners here to peep, as if you need to, depending on if you and your team are rushing A or not. There's going to be different strategies, obviously, but let's just go over the main route to A first. So you go through this somewhat convoluted area. It's got some unique shape language to very much differentiate it from the rest of the map. This is the long route to A, and here is the bomb site for A. Now CT spawn is over there, so they will have probably taken up some sight lines somewhere around here. So I made sure to occlude you from most of that. Assuming you've got to this point, you're probably good until you pop out here, and then you're going to have to think hard about your future decisions from there. Let's go talk about A short. Okay, so this is where you would diverge, deciding whether to go short or long on A. If you're going to go short, you'll probably be taking a left through here. There's the spot. It's going to require either some jumping up walls or around these stairs straight to the A. Now you're going to have a lot of confidence that you've got some good backup to take that course, but that's generally the trade-off you take for a short route, right? Okay, let's talk about B. As a terrorist, if you're going B, you're going to take a left through this warehouse. I should note that the run as a terrorist is obviously, as in all CSGO maps, it's quite a bit longer. So CTs have a chance to scout and claim any territory they can. This B route is specifically long, but you'll see why here in a second. So there is B. This is B short, and you can just run straight to it down this big alley. And I'll go over all the counter strategies for CT in a minute. But specifically, one of the things that I did here is because if you're descending this ramp, anyone up or around there is going to see your feet, and they're going to see you coming a mile away. So these little peeps here give you an opportunity to see if you're being watched before you take that plunge down the ramp. Okay, so a B medium is going to be through this warehouse of fuel tanks. So if you're going tanks, you're probably not going to want to take a straight line like I just did there, because there could be someone camping up there. So you'll probably need to peep the area, and you can weave through these tanks to completely be occluded from anyone watching from up there. At that point, you have a chance to jump down to B and do your thing. So let's talk about B long. Okay, from this position, you can go B long, and this is going to pull you up. This is the kind of the most exposed, the natural trade-off being that you have great eyes on the area, but you're very exposed, but you also have a chance to scout and see if anyone's watching from up here. So this is a great sort of teamwork maneuvers to send one high, one low. But on the other hand, you're, super exposed up here. It's going to take you a while to get there. If you are actually going for B, you'll probably want to drop down, something like that, to take it. Now let's go ahead and just talk about, after you've planted the bomb, how are you defending the site? So the sight lines that I put in place for B here, there's this one that's pretty sketchy, purposefully so. This is where you probably don't want to be, but if the other options are blocked off to you, this is an option. So here you're going to be able to see at the last minute if CT is running this direction. You'll get a better shot of them if they're coming on the higher ramp. But the obvious disadvantage is you're right here in this little nook, very easy to get at from a variety of angles. The better shot is up this ladder, and because Unreal does not have ladder climbing in its first-person shooter default, let's just pretend we climb that ladder through the magic of editing. Now, here is a fantastic spot to protect B. You've got pretty good view of most of the field, although you have no idea what's going on there, and that's pretty important because well, we'll get into that with once we do counter-terrorist counter strategies. Another good spot is up here where you can see B, and if anyone's trying to defuse, you've got a prime opportunity to take them out. You can also see pretty well if someone's coming from either of those two directions. So this is a great spot and makes this warehouse tanks here kind of strategic to keep and to hold. Okay, let's talk counter-terrorist strategies. So we know they're either going for A or B. To watch for B, this is kind of the obvious eyes in the sky up here. It's fairly exposed. I've got one little bit of cover for you, but for the most part, if you're going to keep a good eye on the field, you're going to pay the penalty of being pretty exposed. One of the important notes here is that you cannot actually see B sight from up here. You're overhanged by too much, and you cannot see if anyone's coming out of tanks. So it's going to be pretty important to have someone up here, but they're going to, if it's only one person, you're going to have to commit. Are you watching B short and B long, or B mid? If you're B mid, you're going to be in here, but it's quite a commitment. But again, like I was just talking about, if anyone's protecting B, this is an important facility to control. Another option for CT protection of B is to take this helicopter here, and you can actually camp from inside the cockpit. If you're standing, your head can be seen, so you're vulnerable there. But if you're ducked down, you can't be seen, and you can camp B to your heart's content. You're just obviously very vulnerable. If anyone sees you from a variety of directions, you're pretty much toast. This is one of these kind of wacky ideas that generally doesn't make the final cut, right? It's pretty weird and fiddly, but I think it's important to experiment, especially in the gray box phase, with these kind of fun ideas, because sometimes you can salvage a core idea of it and find other ways to manifest that the experience of that initially that I'm going for there. So anyway, let's talk about A. So as counter-terrorist, defending A, the first spot I'm probably going to run, let me go back to CT spawn point. Okay, so from spawn, if you're going for A, you can take this bunker. Now this bunker provides you two different opportunities to peep A. You've got but both of them are pretty narrow, right? When you're in here, you're not seeing a large portion. Your sight lines are limited, and that is very much by design. If you want a less limited view, you're going to want to take the tower here. Now, this tower is purposefully a pretty convoluted route to get here. There's 3 different ways to get up here, but once you get it, you've got great overwatch of the entire A site and even a considerable part of B. So I feel like this is going to be a pretty tactical spot to want to take and maintain. Um, Again, playtesting would reveal whether that's true or not. So to get into the tower there, one way to do it is through the control station here. Now, what I have going on here is a light on the floor that's going to cast a player's shadow onto the ceiling. So while there's no direct sight lines from anywhere else on the field, if your shadow is being cast up there and someone knows about it, they can throw a grenade through the window. Again, this is one of those things that's going to emerge probably later game after you've got some econ going, but that's one way through here. The other way is through this fiddly area. And I don't mean fiddly in a derogatory sense. Sometimes you really want these kind of more, just longer, more involved paths to get to areas. It makes them kind of more valuable, a little more special, and it just adds a little more to the experience. So the other way to get to tower is through this back alley here. After you go trash, you can run up this ramp here. And again, it's not as complicated or fiddly as the other two routes, but it is circuitous. So it's going to keep people who are in the crow's nest here, it's going to give them a lot more confidence that they're not going to be taken from behind. So they can really focus on A or the surrounding area. But anyway, not completely. The important thing is that there's always some amount of tension, right? You've got this high ground. It's paying off in some ways, but there's always a price to pay. So, okay, let's talk about terrorist rotating. So I think for CT, it's fairly obvious how rotates are going to work because they have such a more narrow bandwidth of the map to work with. For CT, or I'm sorry, for T, it's important to be able to rotate with a lot of cover. So that is explicitly why this whole back alley section exists back here. So you can do a pretty effective feint on B and then rotate to A, and vice versa. You can see the sight lines here. There are opportunities to be seen, but especially in the later game, once you've got some smokes and stuff like that, you can definitely do pretty effective rotates given that back alley area, but not impervious, right? Especially if CT owns this crow's nest tower here. Other than that, I think that's pretty much the broad gestures of the map. Again, I expect that as soon as the map is played, all of these things change radically, and to me that's really the fun and excitement of working on PvP levels. It's really exciting to see how people think in ways that are different than you expected, and then responding to that. That this bunker, maybe it's never used, and so I just block it off, or I find some way to make it useful, or B is just impossible to keep, so I find ways to work around that. It's those kind of constantly changing logic puzzles that are really exciting about level design to me, especially in the Team VT context. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a feel for how I think and approach design from a first-person shooter perspective. For me, it's all about resolving ambiguity. As a level designer, I'm presenting ambiguity and removing it in very kind of bite-sized chunks. That's what's fun. You're always resolving mysteries. I talk a lot about that in the article just below this video, so please check that out for more of my thoughts on this kind of design. And I thank you for your time. Bye.